Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience tuning in on the South and those joining us online worldwide. Thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome Myles Grier to our program today. And if the name sounds familiar, you guys have seen him in his acting work for television and film as well as theater. But this year, he's getting a lot of attention for a project that he not only wrote and directed, but also stars in. It's called Remember to Breathe in the Dark. We're going to talk to Myles not only about his acting journey, but what it's been like for him to do what he loves as a creative and to share that with all of you. Also about the new film and the buzz that's been around it, and, of course, let you guys know how you can be able to see it for yourself. Myles, thank you so much for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
Cyrus, thank you for having me, sir. Of course.
Well, look, so a lot for us to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about Remember to Breathe in the Dark, a powerful message there. But I want to talk about this journey for you because 2020 has been a mixed bag for a lot of people, Myles. They look at it and say, you know what, this is not exactly the year I planned. But for you professionally, it seems like this has been a year where your talent, not only as an actor, but also as a writer and director, is really coming to the forefront. What has it been like for you to reflect on this year?
Man, this year has been a blessing in disguise for me personally. I definitely know it's been tough for a lot of families out there, including, my close friends who have lost a lot of people due to the pandemic. But, it's been a time to really focus on self-care, like mental health, be able to creatively, because I'm also a producer, an executive creative director with my closest friends and artists who I admire so much over at the Artistic Standard, and led by Gino Brooks. And it's been a great time, honestly, to allow. And Gino also executive produced my film, Remember to Breathe in the Dark, with me as well. We're great collaborators. But it's been a great time to just really connect with other filmmakers out there, producers. And kind of prep for when the world opens back up, So it's been great, honestly. It's been a great time just kind of slow down for me and kind of focus on just what, be at home and really focus on what we're doing. So
yeah. So I have to ask you, going back then, Myles, as you kind of reflect on how you got here in 2020, is this the life you saw for yourself? I mean, is this what you said you wanted to do when you decided to enter this industry?
Yes, it is, because when I first entered this industry, I was an actor at the tender young age of 13, but I said I wanted to be a creative and who really focuses on the work, on the craft.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm doing. I've over the years, I've been able to get experience in almost every section of a crew, of a cast. So I've been aware and really kind of observing, seeing okay, these are the do's and don'ts of when I know, when I get to where the goal is. But again, we always are always striving for more. So what really is the goal? But
right.
So I think that's, yes, when I entered this industry, I wanted to be an actor, but the doors that I have also opened to, and I went to an art school for high school, so I was creating back then, and so I fell back in love with just being able to, the freedom of creating and pulling from personal experiences and really is remembering the message of it all, and not just doing anything, but doing things with a meaningful purpose,
Right. And I think I love the fact that you say with a meaningful purpose, because it wasn't like you're just doing this for the attention. You're doing it really for the love of it. And I think the love kind of shows itself in what you've been able to do in these various roles. So going back then to Remember to Breathe in the Dark then, so talk to us about how you overcame, because, you know, I talked to a lot of creatives on this program over the years, and the thing that's always interesting is stepping outside the box, right? Either playing a different type of character than they're known for, or stepping into a different role as a, you know, executive producer or someone who's more involved behind the scenes. You kind of did it all with this. So, I mean, so what was it like for you to be able to, you know, to have this idea, to write it, then to be able to, you know, to produce it, knowing you were going to be starring in it, and then kind of being able to guide yourself? What was that process like?
Man, well, first, this project wasn't even for Hollywood. It wasn't for, you know, anyone more so than myself, because, you know, 2017, I lost my father, and kind of, you know, he was a very strong man, and, you know, growing up with him, I have a very strong family, very great standards and morals and everything, and he was that person at all of our family funerals who was telling everyone, you know, guys, keep your head up, you know, they're in a better place now. So seeing that, I never really saw him cry. I never saw him break down. I never really saw him handle it emotionally or be vulnerable with it. So I didn't properly know how to handle his death, right? So for me, this project was a therapeutic process for me. It was like one of my only way that I knew how to express myself creatively, but also make it about and give me a space to really dedicate it to him, to really just kind of let out and be vulnerable, be emotional, but also be strong. I think with this project, for me, it was also, because I'm very big on vulnerability, especially as an artist, as an actor. And I see that we as men, specifically a lot of times in this world, we have a hard time being communicative, being vulnerable. So I wanted this project to kind of be my space to be vulnerable, but also in that I found in the process that, okay, let's help make this a message of, look, you can be vulnerable, be emotional, and be strong all at the same time, you know, and kind of go through like your dark moments. But in those moments, there's always that light at the end of it, at the end of that tunnel. So just remember to breathe in that dark, like remember to breathe in that darkness. Because if you hold your breath, you could, in a way, drown in that. You got to keep breathing. Like that's all we could do whenever we kind of think about, you know, my family thinks about my father. It's like, you kind of take that breath, you know.
Right. So
for me, it was a therapeutic process. Now I've been in production as well for the past decade. I've been a PA at NBC on great shows, you know, AD work. I've done. You know, I've seen the real work done behind the scenes. And it's after my father passed, I came back to LA after taking a hiatus for like 5 months to a year. But during that hiatus, for my, you know, as an actor, I was assisting producers. I assisted Lee Daniels for most of 2018. You know, Academy Award nominated Lee Daniels. So he was an amazing influence on the business side and how to kind of juggle and time manage, and is kind of all the relationships to be looking out for. Like, so I was very aware of how to juggle, but the behind the scenes from just my decade of experience in production, right? So I just, you know, is really just taking all you learn from the journey and is giving your all in this passion project. And then, you know, fortunately after I released it, people responded people are still responding very kindly, and it got picked up for a licensing deal over at Urban Flicks TV, so for a year. So it's, you know, it's been received very well. But yeah, as far as the work, I feel like I was prepared for it. I feel like I was built for it, and yeah, so it came easy for me.
Right. Well, you know, I thought it was really interesting, and I'm glad you mentioned. I want to talk to you about new media here, Myles, because I think it's some great lessons here for people who are waiting what they can be doing now that I think they can really follow your lead in. But I want to first say, for those who are just tuning in on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. Myles Grier is our guest for this segment. He's an individual who's been able to do what he loves as an actor, working in front of the camera, but now he's also written, directed, produced, and stars in a powerful new film called Remember to Breathe in the Dark. We're going to remind you guys again, Myles just mentioned it, but I'll remind you guys again how you can be able to see it for yourselves. So I think an interesting component of this film that has a broader meaning for creatives, Myles, for myself, and I'm curious as to your take on this as you were watching the playback, right? Do you think this film is also really a synonymous message of the creative process, of the fear that can come with it, the ways that we have to be able to, as you were just talking about, being vulnerable, the ways that we have to be able to face our fears and to do things that sometimes might scare us, but knowing that there can be something positive coming out of it? What was it like for you to kind of think of the creative process in this film as well?
I love that. I love that, like that analogy and that interpretation, because that's exactly. This film is very much an interpretive piece, right? So I mean, you can relate it to any kind of process that you're in. The creative process for this, it was one of those things where the people who trusted me behind the scenes, from my director of photography and sound guys and everything. It was a very small crew. It was very much, we took our time, and people were questioning. This is a short film, right? And I had the vision. I knew exactly the pacing. I knew exactly how I wanted it to feel. I wanted it to feel like this slice of life that you're peeking into this guy's home and a kind of secret moment, these personal secret moments. And so creatively, it felt very real. And but yeah, it very much was a process of. It was still the work. It as vulnerable and therapeutic as it was still me being very much aware of where I am as an actor, where all the things that I've learned. Because this was like, in a way, coming out of that hiatus for me, kind of just taking time for family and other endeavors. I wanted to come back and say, like, this is how I've grown in this time. So, because, I've done great work in the past, on great television productions and films, but, as an artist, you're always growing. Sometimes you're never happy with, or fully happy with, like, what you see in your past work. So I think for this, it was great joy to kind of just go through the creative process of showcasing, like, where I'm at now, allowing folks to trust me in my vision and just get it done,
Yeah. What was it like for you to trust yourself, Myles?
Do we ever trust ourselves? It was vulnerable, man. I am somebody who practiced. I have some of my best friends who I met on the Fosters back in the day. Two of my closest friends to this day, where they set the standard for me in our friendship. And how vulnerable we are to each other, how it's really kind of talking about how we feel, talking about our days, etc., and how kind of to grow. So, yeah, I trusted myself enough to stay out of my head. And again, it's such a personal piece, so it felt real. It felt. I just wanted to just trust what it was. And again, I wasn't so much doing it for Hollywood. I wasn't expecting it to, go anywhere except for my YouTube page, but I didn't question. I am somebody who kind of just moves without questioning myself too much. Gotcha. If I have a plan, if I say I want to do something, I thought about it well enough to kind of get it done and start it. Once we're going, we're going. And just get it done, Yeah.
I'm going back to what you just mentioned about going back, to you said, for your YouTube page. I think, again, that's the point I was going to make for creatives out there. I was really struck earlier this year, Myles, when everything kind of shut down, how many people were just talking about waiting. and till things went back, and I was thinking to myself, you're waiting for things to get back, not even knowing what that was going to look like. For you, how important was it for you to keep moving? Because that's what it seems like you're now reaping the reward of for this being picked up. This could not have happened if you had not kept moving. So what has that been like for you to think of, the rewards that have come your way by your doing that?
I mean, the rewards of keeping moving. I mean, spiritually, Cyrus, I'm very aware of. I feel that I'm just really enjoying this human experience. So I'm really kind of in touch with the feeling of okay, use this time to keep going. Use this time to do this or do that. And I think when we kind of push ourselves and challenge ourselves to stay consistent, stay faithful, keep doing the real work, the hard work, pretty much staying dedicated to it, then we see those rewards. And I think even as every actor you ask, most likely, once we're rewarded with a booking, once we're rewarded with something, we're thinking about the next thing. Usually we're like, okay, now I feel confident. I can, what's next? What's next? So just that drive and that love to kind of keep doing what we're doing, or to kind of to keep reaping the rewards in our industry on whatever level is that interests us. I think that's the reward that we're able to play in this industry that some people fight so hard to, or are so distant from. There are many people who want to be actors in states, and they kind of feel like, well, I can never move to California, or so it's the reward itself is just being able to do it.
Right.
So I'm getting the reward by taking action. I'm not looking so much for whatever the reward is that everybody else is kind of giving me for taking action. I'm more so saying, look, I love doing this.
Right. Yeah. Well, it has to feel. I'll brag on you a bit since you're not going to here. So it has to feel good though to go into this year, 2020, and go into a new year next year as someone who has written, produced, directed a project that has already gotten picked up in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. I mean, it has to feel pretty good.
It does. I guess that. So yeah, sure. Thank you for it does. And I think with any art though, I'm more so interested in how people are kind of interpreting it, and how people are is the message getting out? So I more so care about the message of the film. That was my main thing of why because I would prefer to freely just show it on YouTube and not having any kind of blocks on it. But if this platform can also expand the audience, then I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah. But so it feels great because the message is getting out more.
Yeah. And it's a great message. And I have to say, and I don't think you know this, Myles, I struggled with a speech impediment myself probably my first 11 years of my life. My father had a speech impediment until he died. His father before him had one. The interesting thing for me, I had a teacher in Mississippi who saw something in me, and I had always wanted to be a writer and a storyteller, and she would take out time after school to be able to help me. And she is the reason why I'm now able to use this platform. And I actually got to thank her 6 years ago during my first book signing. She came to my book signing, and so I got to introduce people to her. And I bring that up for this reason. I think people will see this film and think, even though I mainly thought about the creative process when I was watching, I think people will see this and be able to put whatever their situation might be and how they can face that fear and be able to realize that the world is not going to end, even if things don't go the way you think it's going to go or the way you want it to go, or you don't say things the way you want to say it. Just the fact that you put forth the effort, I think, is the big thing there, and so many people are too afraid to do that. So congratulations to you for putting forth the effort, for writing it, for producing it, and saying, you know what, I'm going to share this. And now look at what's happening with it for now the world to be able to see it.
Man, that means that makes this conversation even so much more special for me. And congrats to you for doing the work with yourself, facing yourself and what you felt was an impediment, and to having, one of the top 100 shows on Blog Talk Radio, to 17,000 plus followers, etc. Congrats to you on the journey, because I also had a speech impediment. My father, in that same way, also had a speech impediment. I in the film I over exaggerate what my impediment was. I more sort of slurred my words and I stuttered and I talked fast. But I went through growing up also having that kind of teachers who kind of believed in me and saw my talent regardless of my speech. I've had teachers who were like, we would never cast him in this because he can't talk. Or I've had teachers who in high school would say like, oh, you got to project, Myles, or slow down, or whatever else. And
right.
I would come back years later, and they're like, oh, Myles can project. Oh, okay. So I love the speech, the stuttering community. I've been connecting with so many people and organizations and kids after this project as well. Again, like it was something that I was very intentional about, and I wanted to make extra personal, because if I was able to help inspire anybody through that journey, because it's so hard. People can get so discouraged and feel like they're alone. I wanted to really show like you're not alone. Just keep just remember, and the title is a double message with remembering to breathe in the dark when you're thinking about those lost parents or loved ones, and also remember to breathe, because my dad will always tell me, remember to breathe, as far as stuttering. So it's a double message also with that. I love that. Thank you, Cyrus.
Well, look, no, I really, man, I love the fact that you've been able to do this. So when I first found out about it, when Wendy first pitched it to me, shout out to Wendy Shepard, I was like, yeah, this is perfect for me on so many different levels and for our audience here. So for those, of course, who have known me over the years, who are also surprised at now where I am and what I've been able to do, knowing what I dealt with growing up, I think it is inspiring. And then, like you just shared for yourself, you're going to be able to inspire people just from sharing that bit. Again, everyone, Myles Grier has been our guest. Great conversation with you, Myles. Again, make sure you guys are going to watch. Remember to breathe in the dark. So, Myles, let our audience know, how can they be able to watch the film?
So the film is available until next year on urbanflixtv.com. There is a paywall, so just feel free to go on there and check it out. UrbanFlix has also some amazing series and television. They just launched in May, and they're really trying to change the connotation of the word urban. It's really setting the standard for prestigious, multicultural, great work on the platform. And they have a short film section. So my film's in the short film section. And if you have any trouble like remembering that, just go to mylesgrier.com, and I have the link and everything on my website as well. And also social media wise, you can find all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, IMDb at Myles Grier, which is also on my website, mylesgrier.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Myles, congratulations to you again, man. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to having you back on the program again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Cyrus. And again, thank you and congrats for your over 1 million followers, to your Blog Talk Radio Top 100 show, everything, man. The Conversation magazine going, the congrats on everything and the success and taking control of your life and just doing your thing.
Thank you, man. Look, man, you're definitely showing people what's possible, and I appreciate you saying that. And I definitely thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.